What is going on, everybody? I'm back with another video. In this video, I'm going to be explaining why Tracy McGrady does not have a championship ring in the NBA. Now, Tracy McGrady was an amazing player, had so much potential that ended up being good potential, but people were talking about how he could have been the next greatest player of all time at the prime of his career. Now, I'm going to explain why he's not that. But before I explain that, I'm going to go over some more background information about this player. Tracy McGrady was a great player coming out of college. He's 6'8", one of the most versatile players ever. Great shooter. He was Kevin Durant before Kevin Durant, basically. He was Carmelo Anthony before Carmelo Anthony. He was one of those premium scorers that was really rare to get back in the day. That had so much talent and so much potential at his height of 6'8", which is very impressive for someone his size. Now, he did have a lot of muscle too, so he wasn't that thin. He was pretty jacked. He also has been on like 3-4 different NBA teams his whole career. So it just, you see, he's not a very loyal player, which is kind of like part of the reason why he didn't win a championship. The reason why, but I'm going to be going over the main points on why Tracy McGrady does not have a championship ring. He's a great scorer. He can score the ball. It was never a problem for him. It was never a problem for him to score the ball, put the ball through the net. And another great thing is people don't really talk about his defense. Now, his defense was really good. He was a very good defensive player. And like, people really sleep on that because, and I'm gonna be going over I'm gonna be going over more of the stuff on the stat sheet in a second if Rick would come here and get it for me. But I'm just saying, like, he's a very underrated defensive player. Like, it's mind blowing how people really just slept on that. Like, McGrady's just a great. I feel like McGrady's one of those forwards that's just all around. He's all around with an elite offense. He has elite offense, but he's an all around player. He's not just an offensive player. You guys have to understand, his potential got ruined by injuries, very bad leadership, not great efficiency, and and it's just bad. I feel like he just had bad luck throughout his career. It's another one of these players that I'm going over that just didn't have great luck throughout their career, which is why I think that played a role into why they don't have a championship ring. Now, Tracy McGrady played fucking 15 years in the NBA. So that there's no reason why he shouldn't have won a ring, right? Wrong, because luck just wasn't on his side. So now I'm going to be asking a very special someone to get me the stats of Tracy McGrady. Rick, can you bring me the stats, please? Why'd you give me the stats now? Give me the stats. Fine, I want to play. Give me the stats. Jeez, little bitch. So I just had to. Rick was being a bitch, so I just had to beat him up real quick so I could get these stats. So, Rick, you're fired. Get out of my house now. Get out of my house. Go. Pay you $10 for nothing, dude. You're worth a prime drink. Jeez. All right, so this is Tracy McGrady's resume and career stats and accolades. So let's start with his accolades. He was a 7-time NBA All-Star. I think that's pretty mediocre, to be honest. If you're playing 15 years in the NBA and you have that much potential, I would expect at least 11 All-Star appearances out of 15. But for some reason, Tracy McGrady only had 7 NBA All-Star appearances. I think that kind of hurts a little bit. I'm not even gonna lie. It kind of hurts that he really didn't make more NBA All-Stars. Sorry, I had to. He's 2-time first All-NBA team. That's pretty good. It's nothing really crazy, but it's good. Second team, again. That's probably when he was in his 30s. So he's when he gets older, he can't really make the first team anymore. So that's why he's just dipping down to the second and third team. He's a 2-time third team. Again, I don't really give a fuck about that. No one really cares about third teams. He's 2-time scoring champion. Now, if you ever make a scoring champion, an assist champion, a rebounding champion, that's nothing to sleep on. If you did that one time in your career, I think you should automatically become a top 200 player of all time. Like, you should be one among the greats if you make a scoring or assist leading or a rebounding title. people really seem to sleep on that. It's actually a really good award because what you're basically doing is you're leading the whole league in one category. And it's just very etiquette. It's very etiquette. And it's just people seem to sleep on that award. They always see all-stars. They always see titles. They always see all these. Sorry about that. They always see all these other awards, but they don't really take a look at the scoring title. None of that. Like it's a really good award, and it shows the type of player that you are. It shows the type of player that person was, which is why I'm trying to tell you guys, do not sleep on these awards. They're very good awards. He also won Improved Player. He won an Improved Player award, which shows. And I'm not sitting here shitting on rookie Tracy McGrady. Rookie Tracy McGrady was all that, man. He was all that. But the issue was he wasn't as good as he could have been. It was just his rookie year. And then all of a sudden, he won this award in 2001, I believe. He just turned up and became an all-time great at that time. I'm not talking about now overall. I'm talking about at that time he was playing like an all-time great. Therefore, he won the Most Improved award. Inducted into the Hall of Fame. So what he did throughout his career was enough to make it into the Hall of Fame. Now, if you want my opinion, yes, he is a Hall of Famer. I agree with that. So there's no questions on why he's not a Hall of Famer. He is a Hall of Famer. He just didn't win a ring, which really hurts his resume. I catch my breath real quick. He played 15 years in the NBA. He could have done a lot more, but didn't really. He really could have. Like 15 years is a long time in the NBA. So I'm a little confused as to how he didn't get more awards here. I really thought he was gonna have a better resume, but nah. 15 years isn't enough, I guess. Now, this is something I've really been waiting to talk about during this video. He was Kobe Bryant's all-time enemy on the court. You're talking about one of the greatest underrated rivalries of all time. Of all time. If you watched I think Kobe Bryant was on on a podcast. He said this about 5-10 years ago, and the guy asked him, who is the hardest opponent? You guys can look this up too. But the guy asked him, who was your toughest opponent that you've ever faced on the court? Guess what Kobe Bryant said? He said the hardest guy was either Kevin Durant or Tracy McGrady. Guys, Tracy McGrady was a matchup nightmare. And I'm so stupid for not writing it down on here. I should have written it down on here that Tracy McGrady is a nightmare matchup. He's a nightmare matchup. No matter who's playing or defending him, it's going to be a nightmare for them to defend him. Even because you got to remember, he's 6'8" and versatile. So he can lock you up on defense too. Like it's not even a debate. Like this dude's a matchup nightmare. You're not beating this guy 1v1. Most NBA players aren't beating him 1v1. Most NBA players aren't going to beat him in real life. No. It's just not happening. Tracy McGrady is a matchup nightmare. Amazing score and high versatility on the court. I think we've already been over that. Very athletic and was 6'8". So what I'm reading here is basically these are the strengths of his, and now I'm going to be going on to the weaknesses. So something new that I'm going to be doing, and I actually did end up forgetting to put his career stats, assists, and rebounds. I think he averaged around 25 and 5. Let's just say he averaged like 25 and 5, 26 and 6, something around that. I did end up forgetting to put the stats on here, which really sucks, but there's nothing I can do because I already started the video. So, but for now on, what I'm going to be doing for these videos is I'm going to be putting the accolades, the strengths, the weaknesses, and his career stats, so we can look together at his whole thing. I'm just going to assume he averaged like 22 and a half, 5, 6, 6, whatever. I'm pretty sure he averaged something like that throughout his career. Now I'm going to be going on to Tracy McGrady's weaknesses. He lacked leadership. Basically, I just don't think he had leadership strengths at all. I just feel like he was his own player. He doesn't really have the mentality. Like he didn't have the leadership. He wasn't really able to lead his team. So he was definitely the best player on most of the teams he played on throughout his career, but just didn't have the leadership. Efficiency was mediocre. People say that he doesn't have a really great he didn't really shoot the three that efficiently, which is why I put that on this list. He wasn't really an efficient shooter like that. Now for the mid-range and for the layups and for the other shots, I think he was pretty efficient, but for three-pointers, he didn't really have a great efficient shooting. That doesn't mean he wasn't a great three-point shooter, but he wasn't very efficient from there. He just kind of struggled a lot, so that's why I put that on the list. Didn't have the best teammates. Now I'm not saying that he didn't have him. Like, he had Vince Carter. I think he had Shaq at one point. I think he might have had a few good players I'm just not thinking of. But he did definitely have those two players I'm thinking. I think he had Shaq for a few years, and he had Vince Carter. But what I'm saying, he didn't really have the best teammates surrounding. Like, the teams that he was on, they didn't really build good around him. So I'm not comparing this to the AI situation. AI definitely was one of the best superstars to have one of the worst teammates of all time. But with Tracy McGrady, he didn't actually have terrible teammates. He just didn't have great, like, the teams that he was on, they didn't really build around him good enough. So they didn't really know how to build around him. So that's why I put that on this list. And injuries did end up catching, like, he was one of those players, again, that I'm talking about that really had bad injuries problems. When he was in his 30s, he had, like, a knee problem, had to end his career. I'm just saying, guys, Tracy McGrady, I feel like earlier in his career he didn't really have injury problems, but when he hit his, like, low 30s, I feel like that's when he started getting injured a lot. Something I didn't put on this list that I wish I did. That motherfucker dropped 13 points in 32 seconds to beat the San Antonio Spurs. Guys, what the fuck? That was an amazing moment. And I think that solidified his career. That solidified him as being a Hall of Famer. You're not just going to go out there down 14, what was it, down 14 or 12, 11? You're not just going to go out there down double digits in 30 seconds remaining in a game and come back. That just doesn't... Oh, crap, I dropped it. That just doesn't happen. Like, that just really does not happen. It doesn't happen when you just drop... An individual player, mind you. An individual player drops that. The individual player drops that. 30 seconds to come back and win the game against one of the best teams in the NBA, bro. That's nothing to sleep on. And I really think that's one of the reasons why Tracy McGrady ended up making the Hall of Fame. So, to end off the video, I'm concluding the reason Tracy McGrady did not win a championship ring. Mediocre leadership. Teams didn't know how to build around him. He did have a little ego, too. And he wasn't a great efficient shooter. Goodbye.